Ever woken up from a night out and found yourself in an unexpected situation? Meet Dan, your average Joe, a blithe spirit who loves to paint the town red every Friday night. He's got a taste for the wild side, a penchant for the amber liquid, and a knack for waking up with a pounding head and a foggy memory. Now, imagine this. One Saturday morning, as the sun seeps through the curtains, Dan stirs from his slumber. Beside him, a mountainous figure snores, disrupting the tranquil dawn. A woman of colossal proportions, weighing in at approximately 500 pounds, her bosoms drooping like overripe melons, and a toothless grin that could scare off a grizzly bear. The sight was so exaggerated it was almost cartoonish. Dan's eyes grow wider than dinner plates. His heart pounds like a jackhammer. He gazes at the ceiling, praying for divine intervention, whispering under his breath, "Please let this be a nightmare." And there Dan was, eyes wider than saucers, praying that this was all a bad dream. How would you react if you found yourself in Dan's shoes? Now there's a question to ponder over your morning coffee. Picture this. Our man Dan, in the throes of a world-class hangover, is attempting a daring escape. He's trying to tiptoe around the room as stealthily as a cat on a hot tin roof. His mission? To avoid waking the sleeping behemoth beside him. In a comedic symphony of missteps, Dan trips over a discarded high heel, sending it clattering across the room. The noise rouses the slumbering dame, her grip surprisingly strong as she pulls him back into bed, a deep, throaty laugh rumbling from her belly. It's a sound that sends shivers down Dan's spine, chills him to the bone. Desperate, Dan attempts to craft an outrageous excuse. He claims a sudden recollection of an urgent meeting with the Queen. A royal summons, he insists, a matter of national importance. The woman merely chuckles, her laughter shaking the room, causing Dan to question the structural integrity of the building. With every failed attempt, Dan's desperation grows. He even tries to convince her that he's been called up for a mission to Mars. But alas, his efforts are in vain. The more outrageous his excuses, the deeper her laughter echoes, a sound that will surely haunt his dreams for many a night to come. And so, our dear Dan found himself trapped in the clutches of the fearsome dame. Ever heard of the saying, "Desperate times call for desperate measures"? Well, this was one such desperate time for our gentleman Dan. He was stuck, trapped in the coils of a woman whose laughter could shake mountains, and whose body, well, let's just say it was a sight for sore eyes. With no other options in sight, Dan came up with an audacious plan. As insane as it sounded, it was his only hope. He decided to tickle his way to freedom. Yes, you heard it right, tickle. He reached out, his fingers barely brushing her side. What followed next was nothing short of an earthquake. Her laughter echoed through the room, a thunderous roar that shook the very foundation of the house. Each bout of laughter was Dan's window of opportunity, and he seized it with all the agility of a man whose life depended on it. With every thunderous guffaw, he inched his way towards the door, the promise of freedom just a few steps away. Finally, as he reached the door, Dan couldn't resist a final glance back. There she was, still laughing, clutching her stomach, oblivious to his grand escape plan. With a sigh of relief, he slipped out, leaving the room and its thunderous laughter behind. And that, my friends, is the story of Dan's most unforgettable morning after. Remember, always know your limits, or you might just end up with a morning full of unexpected surprises.